Good morning and happy rainy Monday to everybody out there in the world. This is Attorney Joe with Bowers. This might be popping up in your feed as somewhat of a surprise because I recently have been getting a lot of requests to bring back the radio show that I used to do on a local radio station, and figured that it's 2024 and the whole broadcast world, digital world, all that stuff has changed so much that it makes substantially more sense, instead of me working with a radio station where there's only one place to find what it is that I'm doing, I can now broadcast this live. So you may be watching this on Facebook, you may be watching this on YouTube, or you may be watching this 3 years in the future from when it is broadcast and recorded and put out there into the world. So it sticks around for a while, because when I did the radio station, if you weren't listening when it was on, that was it. The other thing that this has the ability to do is, while you are watching the live stream on either of those channels, you can pop a comment in like PJ Best just did. Thanks, PJ, for being the first comment ever in the history of what will hopefully become an ongoing Monday Morning Lawyer broadcast. But you can interactively ask questions here live, and depending on what the format of the show is for that particular episode, those things can be answered live and on the air. Now, here's the plan. I am probably going to do at least the first 10 of these episodes on topics of my choosing, things that I want to talk about or things that I feel like the general public benefits from knowing about. But I want everybody that's watching this to know that this is an interactive type of show. So not only are you going to have the ability to chat or comment live, asking questions that'll be answered on air, but if there's a specific topic or question that you want answered, you can submit that to us. In fact, you could submit that to info@bowerslawmd.com. You're going to see that right up here. I got to get used to the fact that the camera reverses the image. So when I'm pointing, I got to point closer to where it actually is and realize that. But if there's something that my office does not do, because primarily and almost exclusively my office handles yoink, yoink. Yeah, we're playing the games with the camera and figuring out where everything is. Auto accident cases right here, almost exclusively here in Cecil County. We're licensed to handle them in the entire state. We do handle cases throughout the state, but the bulk, the vast majority of the work that we do is right here in Cecil County. And there are more than enough accidents that happen here, especially on rainy days like today. There are going to be accidents, which means we're going to pop out the little meme of the guy behind the tree in the yellow jacket. That's going to be me. Not really. I don't wish this stuff onto anybody, but we are absolutely 100% here to help when you need it. So this is the show. It's the Monday Morning Lawyer, only because I'm going to do these at 10 a.m. every Monday. And again, I'm primarily, what we do here, and probably what I'm going to talk about on this first episode, is the fact that not all lawyers do all things. So if there is a topic that you would like addressed, still email it in, info@bowerslawmd, and we'll make sure that pops up there again near the end of the show. If it's not something that I do, and again, full disclosure, if it's auto accidents or other injury cases that are here in Maryland, yes, that's something that I'm probably going to do an entire show on your topic. But if it's something else, I'm going to go get an expert. I'm going to get somebody that I trust that has the answer to your question, and I'm going to bring them on here. I'm going to bring them on the show as a guest. This software that I'm using here gives me the ability to add somebody in. I can interview them. They don't need to be live here in my office. So if it is a topic that, again, is outside of my reach, like I've got a good friend and colleague who does a lot of Social Security disability work. If you had a question about that, I'm not answering that question for you. I'm going to bring him on to answer that question. If you've got tax questions, if you've got criminal law questions, if you've got family law questions, Those are not things that I do, but I know experts who handle those things, people that's what they do. The fact that I show up to my office and anything that I do here related to the law is related to an auto accident that happened here in Maryland. These people do what they do day in and day out. And I think that one of my big focal points when it comes to practicing law is staying in my lane. I see far too many attorneys that want to dabble, do a little of this and do a little of that. And oh, yeah, we can help you out with that. But if you're not truly outfitted to do it, you're either not doing a good service to your client or you're going to end up in trouble somewhere. So any of those other types of cases and things that I didn't mention are not things that you're going to have me doing here. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and say, hey, I know you probably have somebody that does X that you trust to take care of me. I either do, and I'm going to refer you to that person, or if I have multiple people, like there's a lot of great attorneys out there that do family law and criminal, I'm going to give you options. Hey, these guys are great. Talk to them both, see who you like the most, or go to somebody else. You'll at least have a better idea of what you're looking for. But not all attorneys do all things, or at least they shouldn't. In fact, I could tell you, I could do entire podcast episodes like this, where all I do is tell you horror stories of messes that I've cleaned up over the years. And some of that happens as a result of being in a small town. You have a really great experience as a client with a law practice that handled whatever it is that they handled for you the first time. You made that call, you read the reviews, you were like, yes, these people can help with my custody situation or with my traffic situation or whatever it might be. And you hired them, they did the work, they got you a great result. Years later, you get in an accident, you've got that number in your phone, you give them a call. Hey, I was in an accident, can you help? You need a lawyer, so kudos to you on that. And you call one that you trust. And so far, you're doing the right thing. But if that person, that firm, that attorney doesn't do this stuff day in and day out, they're going to miss things. I recently had a case where let's put it this way, over a year had gone by from the time that the client hired the law firm that they hired to when they got frustrated with seeing or feeling that there was absolutely no progress, and they fired that law firm. They hired my firm. They said, send the file. The file was sent. There was no indication from what was mailed to me that this case had any work done by the attorney. We do so much work in these cases in the first couple of days, first couple of weeks. There are so many things that are at play with who has to be put on notice, who needs to know that, hey, we represent this person for this situation. There are at least 2 insurance companies for the auto. There's a health insurance company usually. There are all sorts of elements that have to do with medical bills, hospitals, ambulance, all sorts of doctors, physical therapists, all that stuff. And these things all get themselves put together that if they're not on track, it might mess things up. And quite frankly, if I have the ability to do absolutely everything, and when I say I mean my office, because it's not all me doing everything all the time. Without my office, I wouldn't be able to handle all of the cases that I handle. We wouldn't be able to do all the things as quickly as we're able to do them. But there are so many moving parts that if I have the ability and my office has the ability to handle each and every part of the process, even down to the point where nobody that was involved in this accident contacts an insurance company, we make those calls. There's sometimes in my client's pocket at the end, because here's what happens. They get hurt. They go to the doctor. We put everything together. We negotiate a settlement. Everything gets paid, including the attorney's fees. And I hand a check to my client. They paid me $0 up front. And at the end, they get a check. Sometimes in some of these cases, if we have the ability to run every element, make every phone call, do all of the work, it's a $5,000 to $10,000 difference in our client's pocket. Not every case, not every scenario, but I can tell you the more that we control from the beginning, almost every time it's better for the client than if there's some element they try to handle on their own. So we highly encourage anytime there's a situation like that, call us. Now, in that situation I described, it took us less than a month to clean everything up and get everything back on track. I've had other cases where out of state attorneys, for whatever reason, decided to hire to sign a client that lived in Maryland, that was in an accident in Maryland, and that they had no business being a part of. They had no luck in getting the case settled. Why? Because the insurance company knows that you can't take this to the next step. A lot of times, the leverage and the difference maker between you handling a case on your own and having an attorney handling it is the insurance company knows that the attorney should know what the case is worth. Insurance companies can't get away with lowballing my clients. I know what these cases are worth. My office takes them to trial every opportunity we get. Now, a lot of times that's only a handful of times a year, but when we do take these cases to trial, more often than not, we get really big verdicts for our clients. 10 times what the insurance company offered us in many of these situations. A year ago, we had a case where the insurance company didn't want to offer us any more than $10,000 on a case, and we got nearly a $600,000 verdict. Does that happen every time? No, absolutely not. But it happened this time. Another time where an insurance company, a little bit better, they wanted to offer our client $40 couple $1,000, still not worth it. We pushed the issue. We took them to trash, took them to task, took it to trial, got a verdict of $270,000. Again, it doesn't happen every time, but our job in you hiring us is to make sure that if we're telling you, hey, you might want to think about settling this case, that it's within a range that makes sense for you to settle the case. So that's super important stuff. That's kind of what we're here for, is to make sure that everything gets covered, everything gets paid for. I got a good question in the chat here about backing out of settlements within a certain period of time. This is a great question because, there's this, I don't know what the proper way to say it is, but attorneys who handle injury cases often get labeled as ambulance chasers. All right. There's this image that we're running around out there trying to show up when an accident happens or going to the emergency room, because why would I chase the ambulance? I know where it's going. I'd just show up at the emergency room, coming in with a clipboard, trying to sign clients up. Well, number one, maybe that happens with some shady people. That's not us. We know that in this area, especially here in Cecil County and in Elkton, we are well known as being the go-to firm for handling these accident cases. But what I see all the time is insurance companies acting as the role of ambulance chasers. The number of clients that I get that call me that say, hey, this insurance company or that insurance company reached out to me a day, 2 days, 3 days after the accident, before the adrenaline has worn out of my body from that initial instance of the accident. And anybody that's been in an accident knows exactly what I'm talking about with that adrenaline. Okay. They're offering me $700 to settle this claim. They're offering me $1,200 to settle this claim. Sometimes people, not knowing better, accept those offers, take that money. In Maryland, there's a consumer protection portion that allows you, if the settlement was done in a short period of time and you didn't have an attorney, to send that money back and to actually make sure everything gets paid for. Because if they send you $1,200 and you settle the case for $1,200 or whatever the number is, and you go to physical therapy and you run up $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 worth of medical bills, which seems like a big number. But in this day and age, if you go to physical therapy, if you go to the ER, if you take an ambulance, if you go to physical therapy for 2-3 months, you've got over $10,000 worth of medical bills. If you accepted a settlement right out of the gate, guess what you're getting? A bill. You're getting a bill for all that medical care. And I don't know, I didn't have math classes in law school, but I know enough math-wise. Maybe I got this in high school. Maybe I got a little of this in undergrad, but to know that it's real tough to pay $10,000 in medical bills out of a $1,200 settlement. That money's supposed to be for you. That's supposed to be for pain and suffering for having to deal with the situation. So, definitely something, these types of topics are the kind of things that we're going to bring up on a weekly basis. And overall, my goal, when I did the radio show, it was a 30-minute show that had advertisements in it. There's not going to be any advertisements here. So we're going to try to keep the shows to 20 minutes or less. Sometimes if we have a guest on here and a real hot topic, it might go a little longer. But for the most part, make sure you're following our YouTube page. Make sure you're following our Facebook page. Turn on whatever alerts that you need as far as being subscribed to those things so that they ping you and remind you on Monday morning. Be great to have more and more people in the chat. I know I've only got like 2-3 people in here right now. That's because I just decided yesterday that, hey, we're going to bring this thing back. I've had enough people ask me about doing it. So here we are. And again, I want to remind everybody, if you have a question, if you have a topic, something that you want covered here, I'm going to get to it. I may not get to it right away because, like I said, I'm going to have the first 5 or 6 of these with topics that I've predetermined. But especially the stuff that has to do with us getting a guest on, right here, info@bowerslawmd.com. Just send us an email. If it's not something we handle, I'm going to get to work right away of putting a guest together that can be here live with me. That way you can run over to the comments section, either on Facebook or on YouTube. Pop in that question that you have, because you can't see it, but I can see right over here in my stream all the questions as they're coming in. I can even see whether it's coming in from Facebook or YouTube. Not that that makes any sort of difference. The question's the question. But again, follow both of those channels, because you never know when when we're going to go live, but you never know where you might be. Get that alert. And again, if you miss one, no big deal, because they get recorded. They're going to end up back on the YouTube channel. They're going to end up on the Facebook channel. For those of you who have tuned in, or those who are watching this after the fact, because like I said, I jacked you up with it last minute. My idea popped into my head yesterday, and boom, here we are Monday morning, 10 a.m. doing the show. Thank you. Thanks for watching it. Hopefully you'll get something out of at least 1 or 2 of these episodes. And again, as always, if you're injured in an accident, bowerslawmd.com or 410-885-6200. We are here. We are actively taking accident cases. I know those of you in the community who know me, with everything else that I'm doing on stage and in the performance world and hosting the monthly Elkton Magic shows, may have forgotten that I'm an attorney, may have thought that I shut my practice down. Absolutely not. It's just gotten super busy, busy to the point where I didn't have time to do the radio show, because that was happening over in Havre de Grace and it was a whole deal. But we're going to bring this back. And mainly because you and others like you have asked for us to do it. You asked where it went. And so here we are. Again, thanks for tuning in to the first one. I will see you guys next week, right here, wherever you're watching this, 10 a.m., Facebook, YouTube, or check it after the fact. Again, this is Joe with Bowers from Bowers Law. Have a great week and be well.